Call this meeting. Administration advises that there is no amendments to the agenda. Do any members of council wish to make amendments to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the agenda as circulated? Councillor Tedesco. And Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising. Okay, we have no. Oh, right, where am I? Are there any declarations of interest to disclose? Seeing none. We have no deputations or presentations tonight, so we'll move on. Okay, the minutes of the last regular meeting, July 19th, are items 3.1 on the agenda, and the closed session minutes for that meeting are at items 10.2. Are there any errors or omissions to the notes in the open session minutes? Seeing none. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the closed session minutes? Seeing none. Okay, can I have a mover and seconder to approve a motion to approve the minutes items or items 3.1 and 10.2 of the agenda? Councillor McDonald. Councillor Tedesco. All in favor? Hands rising. Okay, correspondence. Items 4.1 on the table, citing resolutions circulated by other municipalities. Are there any matters any members of council wish to have pulled from the list to report on next meeting?
Yes, Mayor, I was looking at the Township of Alberton, the seeking action to address the drought impact. Thought that might be something to look at, see what exactly that pertains to. Yeah, I think we do. If you bring it to next council, so we can actually read it and see what it looks like. Yeah. Just curious as to what it pertains. Okay.
Any other items? Okay, moving on. The next matter, item 4.2, is correspondence from the Red Rock Historical Society relating to their July newsletter. Any members of council have questions? We all received some in our package and it's been posted. We'll write up on a few of us and what's.
I was just, is this like a yearly thing that's put out or quarterly or?
I believe it's quarterly. But
Okay.
I'm not really sure. I have received 2 of them.
Okay. Just curious.
I do believe that is what he had told me, and I included it for everyone to see because it did have individual profiles and for each counselor that submitted. So.
Okay. Item 4.3 is correspondence from resident Kathy Chappelle relating to the fees associated with renting space in the recreation center. Do any members of council have questions of administration?
I did not get that in my package. I don't have that one.
It's a letter dated August 4th, 2021. No?
No.
Did you receive it?
I received one and I did want to make a note.
She didn't initially send an email and we asked to have it written. Do you recall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mention maybe for Mark, I've mentioned before, concern about typing in CAO for the township and end up getting a couple of CAOs way back. Is there a problem with correcting that?
Well, as I explained to you, Cam, it's on your end. It's how you're receiving the email or sending the email on your end.
This is coming from Tim Chappelle.
For me?
It's coming from Tim Chappelle.
No, that's going to me from. So that's on that end as well, right? So I've updated all my internal contact information. Like I said, if I can certainly get yours updated for you, but it's going to be on your end.
I thought I'd cleared mine, but I was kind of concerned when I saw it appearing somewhere else. So I thought maybe it was a general concern. Maybe it's not in the system.
No, I think what happens is, I mean, with the change, right? I mean, that's how it was initially set up with that contact, right? So, I mean, I could have you set up as Mayor Robinson in that sense, and it would say that going to your email. It's an internal correction, I believe, on your end from what you've been.
As I say, I've corrected it at my end, but it seems to be coming up from other sources.
Well, and again, I would assume it's come up from that source because that's how they have it in their system as well.
computer. So they would have to remove that email address and that contact name and then add the new CAO, but it's still the same email address. It's just. Okay.
So I did have a comment with regard to that. I know last year we did look at rate increases on a recommendation, but in the process of the rate increases, we ended up losing some programs. So I'd really like if we could bring that back to the next meeting, looking at getting some of these programs back and adjusting those rates. Because I think the reality of it is now that we've seen, well, for charging $10 more or $20 more, you're losing a program. And it's not going to break the town, but it certainly is tough for someone to put the programming on for what they're charging because they're trying to keep it affordable. So I think we need to really look at that again. Even reducing the rates back to what they had them before we raised it. We want people to use that rec center. So do we want a resolution to put it back to the rates before last time?
No,
or-
well, I think if you go back even to our last meeting of council, Rosalie Evans had asked for a review of our rate bylaw as well as our procedural bylaw. So that would, I think your direction on that is enough for us to go forward and bring that back to council for. That's kind of what I was looking for was, I mean, unless council was directing us at this point now to make that change.
I would think that my opinion is right now, if we could get a hold of those people that were providing courses and services that they were doing, is to get a hold of them and say, hey, we're going back to the rate that we did before. Come on back. Let's get that rec center opened up and used. Let's get it used.
Yeah, and we looked at a couple of different possible options as well on different rooms in the arena as well. So I think I agree with what you're. I mean, to have the facilities used is definitely a good thing. To have programs in your communities, a great thing as well. So I don't see. I didn't see the previous change, but from history and what I've been told, it did jump from $10 to $20, right? So yeah, I mean, you make a good point. It doesn't seem to me like it's something that's an astronomical amount on either side. I guess to go from 10 to 20 is, I think if you look at all the user fees in general, I mean, that's probably as a guide what we're doing right now, what the structure that we have undertaken. Rosalie had started this project when she came in, so we're continuing to work on that. But yeah, I think, I mean, we have no trouble bringing that back, and if that's the desire of council and having a look at that. I mean, at this point, I mean, when you look at that user fee, it's relatively low.
Yeah.
By any other standard. I don't think there's another community probably that has fees that low. But when you're talking about that difference of 10 to 20, if that's what you want us to look at. It's not, it's something we can certainly look at for sure.
Mark, I believe when we were in discussions before with that, it was a number of variables that were involved. So you may have to look at, for example, if you have activities happening, does that require additional cleaning, additional hours? And that was one of the things that we struggled with when we brought it forward at the time. We were having obviously some concerns with regards to value for the service. And I agree with you and Councillor that we don't want to eliminate possible services for the community.
No, and I think you bring up a great point. I mean, what I'm saying based on that, I mean, the cost of running a program or running the facility is, I mean, the 10 or the 20 is certainly not covering near that cost anyhow. It's not like we're, so certainly if it's something council wants us to look at on that structure, again, like I said, we can look at different different rooms within the arena as well, within the municipal complex. We do have the teen challenge room or the teen talk room, things like that, that might even be a better fit to not have to close the whole, the gymnasium at that time and things like that too. So if we had direction from council to certainly look at this, I think what I'm hearing is we definitely want to promote events in our community and go from there. So.
Okay, so we'll see it on the next agenda then.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Where are we here? Oops. Okay, reports from, oh, never mind. 5.1 is minutes from the Committee of Adjustment for its meeting on July 6th. Do any members of council have questions of administration? So it's pretty straightforward. The location, what was discussed, it was about a garage build on the Red Rock Road. We all know, we've driven by it many times. So they were looking, right, because it was a bigger garage, so they needed clearance, and which was approved.
And that was just the height clearance, right?
Yep.
4.2 to 4.6.
Yep.
Anything to progress our community into a better place for whether it's a bigger garage or anything of that sort, let's go for it. Approve.
Okay, 5.2 minutes from the Thunder Bay District Social Service Administration meeting in June. Any members of council have questions for administration? I don't have any. Anybody else? Seeing none? Okay, moving on. Okay, reports from administration. First report is item 6.1, Director of Operations. Do member of council have questions for Mr. Westerman? Sorry, Blair.
Hey, Blair, I just have a couple questions. So looking at the maintenance that we spend on the bridges in town, do we have a cost estimate of what that costs versus having secondary roads put in? So we've got several bridges that need maintenance and engineering, and
It's all done on a priority basis from year to year or biannually, I guess. So that's how we approach it. The main concerns get addressed.
okay, do we have a costing of how much we've spent so far on the bridges? Like to where it gets a point where replacements here?
Well, you can look in the annual report or the biannual reports. You'll get that costing.
I noticed that there's a work to catch basins. Are all our catch basins sinking? It seems like as if.
There's a number of them that need some work. So we've got 4 on the go so far.
There's a serious one on the corner of Sauls and Steel that I think there's a few small cars located underneath.
Sols and Steel.
That's the one that, the gas company had patched up, but it seems to be sinking again. Perhaps
Well,
you,
we haven't put that one on the list yet, I don't think, but we have a number of them. Fixed one on Frost recently.
yeah, but that's one that the gas company should be responsible for, since they put it in and it seems to be going down.
You mean the gas valve?
No, they did some work on the,
Because they wouldn't touch our catch basin.
they were digging around there.
I'll have to take a look at it. They shouldn't be touching our catch basin. That's our infrastructure.
Okay.
So then I was just wondering too about the Freightliner, the year on it and the replacement on that. Is there a time for replacement on that truck?
Well, I mean, that should be a priority in the near future, I would think. Seppo's warning us now about the compactor. The truck itself is in reasonable shape considering its age. It's got a good engine in it. It's I forget what series Cummins motor it has, but I mean, you can find parts for those all over the place. So the truck's one thing, but the compactor is what's wearing out. So right now, he's saying like to fix it properly, it's rotten on the underside. You'd have to remove it from the frame, flip it on its side. And he's not confident that there's good material to even patch weld to. It's just, it's 1994, I believe. So,
Yeah.
so I have looked, I have asked for a quote just mainly for interest's sake from the original manufacturer that made that compactor. I haven't got word back yet, but I started meaning to touch base with them today, but I didn't get a chance.
Do you have a ballpark figure as to what
Compactor is worth? Really, I don't. I've been looking online at some trucks that are sort of comparable to ours. Like right now we have a 20 cubic yard compactor. That's sort of what I would target if it was up to me, with a single axle truck like we have. I'm seeing stuff like, 20, I found one Freightliner, it looks identical, but it's 2014. And that's, I believe it was about 88,000 for the whole truck, compactor, everything. But I mean, we'll have to look at it a little closer when the time comes, I guess.
Blair, could you perhaps look into the possibility of leasing something like that so that,
Well, that thought, I don't know if it was looked at that recently, but I mean, that's an idea. I thought about, if we were even to enter into a partnership with Nipigon again and looked at maybe leasing a truck between the two communities. I mean, Lord knows we've paid about 3 times over the price of that orange one over the years. It's been a lemon. So I would think there might be some interest there. That truck's getting is in not the greatest condition either. So
you're talking about the
That-
Nipigon one?
yeah,
The one that the guys hate because it's ergonomically not suitable?
yeah, they don't like it. They actually like using our old truck because it's a rear loader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So could you perhaps come back with some kind of a numbers for us as far as the possibility of leasing?
Yeah,
Whether
I can-
whether it would be that or perhaps even other things. Our front end loader is not the greatest shape from what I understand, and we could use an upgrade with a thumb and
Well, the loader isn't that bad shape. It's just now would be the time to turn it over if we were going to seriously look at that. Just because it's in reasonable condition now, we could probably get, $45,000-$50,000 in a trade value. So
in general, perhaps maybe you could explore the concept of leasing, because I'm thinking in my mind, over say the span of 4, 5, 10 years, we may be looking at spending a lot less money, and it's something to look at as opposed to going out and putting that huge amount of money right off the top.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, it's not cheap. I know
Yeah.
that much. So like I said, if Nipigon was to enter into a partnership with us again on a garbage truck, it might make more sense that way.
Mark, perhaps you've got connections with the automotive world. You might be able to provide some
Well,
wisdom.
I certainly give you an answer to your question on leasing versus every option that we look at. That is our job. That's our job to look at all those options and I mean, as CAO, my number one job is to provide you with information that is accurate and correct, right? So that's what we do, and that's what we'll try to do every day. As saying that, it's like I said, we'll look at every option that we possibly can around that. We're in the middle. Well, I guess, yeah, probably in the middle of a major asset management plan and with the municipality right now. So that's part of the process we're going through, looking at all of our assets, all of our equipment, and I mean, really and truly, it's about prioritizing where you spend your money. Leads me kind of into the next topic on Blair's report that I think we should touch base on if the questions were done. But I think the bridge that we've attached a picture on, bridge number 1, I think we should have this discussed right now on council's table, just so you are aware. And Blair can probably give a better explanation than me, but our recent inspection on that bridge, does show some concerns. We're monitoring it, and it will need attention this year, and that's kind of where we're trying to look at, right? We want to prioritize where we can spend the money that we do have to spend on these assets. So Blair might be able to give a better technical description of the issues that's going on that bridge. But again, I think it's a focus that we really have to look at.
You want me to sort of explain what you're looking at in the picture?
Sure. You did bring it up the last meeting, correct? No? Or I've seen these.
Well, I
pictures.
mentioned.
Okay.
no,
It was brought up at the
Yeah.
last meeting, but it went without a question, and we just felt that it definitely needs
Right.
attention. It needs discussion. So I guess all we're looking for is just so that you are aware that that we may be in a situation with that bridge that is going to cost us money this year, and it is a priority that we list as a priority to repair. So we're looking at funding sources for that right now, and we do feel that that initially this year we will be able to take care of that bridge. Blair's going to monitor it even on a measurement spectrum for the next once a month, I think, for the next little bit.
And
And we are
to look at it monthly. Yeah.
so we just wanted to put that on your radar that we may have and it may have capacity issues that we have to deal with on that bridge, on weight and things like that as well, right? If we don't address this, so it's a pretty important topic for discussion that I just thought we'd at least get on the table so you knew where we were heading with that.
So for next meeting, can we get some options, costing options, and then where the
JML is working on this right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Engineering solutions, and then
we've
Well,
discussed some.
right?
Yeah, we've discussed some options. The cheapest option would be additional shoring. There's already some shoring. I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but on the structure above where the pilings are, that was done maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago. That's worked, but now there's movement on the bent that's the horizontal timber that's sitting directly on the pilings. You can see the pilings are getting crushed.
Mhm.
So there's been some definite slope movement.
So it's like a temporary solution that's
Well,
shoring.
that's what he's trying to guard against. He doesn't just want to throw some temporary solution together and then have more movement, a year or two from now. They want to try to throw something together that's gonna, last.
So we will bring those options too.
Yeah.
We're looking at this on this year. I mean, we're monitoring that. So we definitely will bring those options to council.
Because it does look like it's going to be a chunk out of the capital. It does.
Yeah, I mean, there is funding sources that can assist us there for sure. It depends on where we end up landing. We're semi-confident that there is going to be a repairable solution. I mean, that's not a problem. It's just a matter of where it's going to take us on a financial level in the repair. But it's more just so that we can have you aware of that. I like to at least prioritize where we stand and where I think we need to be with our assets. So yeah, we'll definitely get those reports to you as they come.
So are you pretty confident on the funding that you guys are looking into for this?
Well, we do have accessible funding that I think will fit that project. Yeah, it's just a matter of where we land with JML on that. I mean, it is infrastructure. So I think again, we certainly wouldn't be able to put a brand new bridge there, but I think we can correct the problem and get it to where it needs to be from a structural component.
Previous conversations on that bridge also was around the whole concept that the bridge might not even be ours. It might be a federal asset. And perhaps you might want to check into determining whether it is a federal asset or not. And they may have some.
I think that was
responsibilities towards
determined.
it.
Yeah, that is determined. The bridge is ours.
Even though you can still adopt the highway after it, because Gresback Photography adopted that land, which is kind of weird. If you look at the sign that's behind the bridge for the adopt the highway, sign is behind the bridge. That was brought up, still declined, right? But so I don't know. Maybe it's another conversation with the government again, because there is a sign there that says adopt the highway, and it's behind the bridge leading towards the other way. So I don't know. That's an argument I asked before if that was made. If we can find records of the any paperwork of having that signed over, because you see them all along the side of the highway. Adopt a highway, adopt a highway.
I
That might
know
be our
that
only-
the documentation has gone right back to the building of the Township of Red Rock.
Yep.
So they've gone all the way back to there. And that's where it starts. It doesn't matter where that sign is placed now. But it, the transfer of land and all those documentation, that's from way back then. So that's where the government stands. And I don't believe it's fruitful for us to be going back there because adopt a highway sign is there.
No.
That's all.
Yeah, we were
But it
given
would be
clear
nice.
direction, and I did look into that we were given clear direction. It does fall within the municipal boundaries of the township. And
Also wanting to ask the closed circuit system. You've done some work. Where's things at there?
They're just waiting for those NVRs still. They had to delay their visit. It's supposed to be last week. So as soon as those NVRs come in, they're going to try and coordinate a visit.
That'll be down at the waterfront down here and
Also at this for
On
the
South
South
Street.
Street
good.
camera.
Good. Thank you. And it's good to see that there's a start happening on the building on Rankin Street. Was it Saturday? Herd boys were there removing shingles and it's good to see. It's really, really good.
we could note there might be a slight delay on the rest of the project. We're waiting on Enbridge. There's a little bit of a delay on some disconnects, but it is happening. The best case is 30 days, Blair, roughly is the best case scenario.
44 days
Yeah.
they mentioned, but we'll see what they.
So again, with COVID, that's there, some of the reasoning is around COVID and manpower and this and that, but it is coming. We had the slight delay with Enbridge, but
Well, you've got some happy neighbors down there.
yeah, for sure.
A happy community, period.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good story, and hopefully by mid-September, that's all cleaned up.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Osterman? Okay, do I have a mover and seconder to receive the report? There. Councillor McDonald. Councillor Tedesco. All in favor? Okay, so as we went through the other two reports, I forgot to move and second them, so we'll have to go back and go through them. So the report of Committee of Adjustment meeting held July 6th. I need a mover and seconder to receive the report. Councillor McDonald, Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising. And also the Thunder Bay, the DSAB report from June 17th, 2021, mover and seconder, Councillor Muir and Councillor Tedesco. Sorry about that. All in favor? Now we're back here. I got all these. Okay, next is 6.2, administrative activity. Any members of council have questions for Mr. Figlamini? We all have his report.
Yeah, so I just wanted to follow up on the asset. What are we going to get a little sample of the asset management plan presented to us?
When are you going to get that?
Yeah, just so we can
Well,
see
we're
how it's
still,
progressing.
that's still in progress. We're working, usually we end up having, we actually have a meeting scheduled every Thursday with them on that, as well as I guess it's a bi-monthly workshop with them. So it is coming along. That it's quite a detailed process. I would assume once we get all that data, we've been providing them as much data as we possibly could at this point. So we will have that hopefully summarized and reported. I'm going to say within a month, probably.
Who all is working on the asset management plan?
Internally?
Do you have external people as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So who all is involved?
In the asset management plan, oh God, so internally, Blair and I and Samantha and I guess PST citywide is
Right, so citywide is, we remember we've received a grant from them to complete the asset management.
so they
Round,
put
good.
that documents, they basically build the document with our information. It's quite an extensive process. I'll be honest with you, basically from previous experience with asset management plans into, but I guess into smaller communities like Red Rock, it will be a report that doesn't paint a pretty picture. And that doesn't reflect where Red Rock stands. It really doesn't. And I've had this discussion with them at that level, as well as with the provincial government. There is a core structure and a policy and a piece that frames the municipality of Red Rock's assets get treated the same way as the municipality of or the city of Toronto. So there's a scoring card, a report card that basically puts an age of your asset. And so, for example, I mean, they may look at your arena and say it's got an F, which we will see a lot of Fs. There's no doubt about it. We will see a lot of Fs in it. And I truly don't believe that's a true reflection. And I've had this discussion with them as recently as this week. And the funny thing is they agree, but that's the scoring mechanism that they have, right? So your assets, your roads, for example, get graded on age and the last time you've resurfaced them and things like that. So, and Blair will kind of chuckle because I go at them pretty hard on the fact that we'd have beautiful roads and beautiful brand new buildings if there was money out there for that. So I'll warn you a bit on that. We will present that to you, but it's sometimes not the prettiest picture that you get.
Mark, we've had reports before that have already taken the thunder away from your comments right now. We were aware that things are not especially great, but we're working on it. And that's the whole concept, is to prepare a system so that we can be constantly ahead of the game and have enough money set aside so we can keep things in workable order.
And you're right. And my challenge to an asset management report that scores it that way is I don't believe it's a true reflection of, say, your community or your assets a lot of times, because it goes based on mostly by age and worth and maintenance kind of thing, like you say, into your roads and your bridges and that kind of thing, right? So
Yeah, we're well aware. I believe, Sage report showed where we are with what we've got to do. This asset management plan is going to be a square one to start. But I mean, if you get an F with something, it's because it's the cost of putting it in. I mean, if you look at the rec center, it's fallen down and it's going to get fixed. So, but I mean, yeah, the assets are in very rough shape. It's clear when you look at them. We got to get moving on this stuff. So
Okay,
it's good though.
Counselor McDonald has a question.
Sorry. So this is just an asset management plan. Is there any asset management program that comes with it? Because sometimes we get plans done and they get put on a shelf and the maintenance or whatever inspections never actually get done. Whereas a program could send an email to whoever's in charge of this department, an email to, you know what I mean, as reminders, like, I'm just wondering if that maybe might be a next step or.
well, that
is
would
that in-
fall, this won't come technically out of this plan, but that will be the direction that, we take
Eventually
from
we
that.
could go
point.
there.
Any other questions for Mr. Figlamini?
Just a brief update on a couple of things, just because I think it's important for council to hear. The federal gas tax audit is complete. The staff in the office did a fantastic job with that process. The federal gas tax audit is back and complete, and it showed really we had no strikes is I don't know if this is the best way to put it, but we did come out of the federal gas tax audit with a very good report. In saying that, we did have some funds that were spent through federal gas tax that shouldn't have been, but they were reallocated through our municipal auditors. So from that level, that's fixed. That was simply a transfer of funds. So it wasn't like the municipality was out money at that point. And credit to the staff, because the federal gas tax audit is complete, and when we came through that pretty well, very well, actually, very well. So yeah, that was just kind of the summary I wanted to give out of that. The rest is just basically some of the day-to-day operations and some of the things we're working on internally in the office.
Mark, can you say a word or two on the municipal audit? I don't understand that. What is that?
Yeah, so the municipal audit is very close to being complete. That's our internal auditors that audit the township on a yearly basis. I was dealing with her yesterday. She's ready to report to me on that audit. Unfortunately, she's on holidays this week and asked for an extra week. So that should be reported to me as the CAO, and then it should come to council hopefully in September. So that's your annual audit from municipal auditors.
Any other questions for Mr. Figlamini? We are participating in the AMO conference, so we did do some sessions today and over the next 2 days. We don't have any meetings with any ministers, but we're still participating. Okay, could I have a mover and seconder to approve the minutes or receive the report? Oh, sorry, I can't see you. Councillor McDonald. Councillor Tedesco. All in favor? So, angle. Hey, it's our first time back in well over a year, so we'll get it settled. Okay, report 6.3 is a recommendation. It relates to a wage increase for applicable non-union employees for 2021. Do members of council have any questions of the administration?
So council's not on this increase.
Council is on this increase.
I'd like to see council move from this increase. I'd like to see council removed from this increase.
So the reason council is on this increase is it was a standard policy. So we left that. We left everyone, including in this increase. It doesn't, and the word applicable is there because it doesn't represent all employees. But certainly if that was something that was the will of council by resolution, then we could remove council from that. That wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
That would require a resolution moved and seconded and voted on the floor, and we can certainly remove.
Yeah, I'd like to put that forward if we could.
Two things though. One, we don't have one of the council members present, so perhaps.
You have a quorum of council, so that vote, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever way you want to look at it, that vote will go through with a quorum of council. So if council wants that on the floor, then we can certainly have that vote. Or you could defer it. I mean, if you wanted to wait for all of council, again, that's up to council. That's your decision. But
I'm ready.
I would recommend you, I mean, you have a quorum
We
of
have
council.
quorum.
you move it.
I'm ready to move on it right now tonight myself. Yeah.
I just have a question. When it says applicable employees, is that like those certain employees are guaranteed a raise, or they have yearly reviews, or do they have to work to get that raise, or is that a guarantee?
Well, how it reads in the procedural bylaw and in the, is it does, there is an internal review on all employees, and that happens from what I see on an annual basis here, which is a good thing. But this raise is based on the union contract, and it flows through those employees that are eligible based on the unionized contract. So it was one way to have that increase go through. In saying that this increase wasn't realized in 2020 because of a contract negotiation that didn't happen for a few years, I believe. So these employees that, and I use the word applicable because it doesn't apply to all of your non-unionized staff. It doesn't apply to some of the senior management. It really is council, fire, landfill, garbage, and library, right? So that represents, it represents about a $2,000 increase. I mean, again, I recommend it for our non-unionized staff, but if council wants to pull themselves from that increase, then that's certainly something that we can do.
Two things. One, I think it should be across the board so that people such as yourself and other admin people should get the same. It's only fair. The other thing is, how many people are we talking about? You had mentioned landfill person.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's council, so that would, that's the five of you. It's, I believe the fire chief and deputy chief. I guess it would be two at the landfill, roughly, three or so at the library. I mean, I don't have the structure in front of me, but and again, that's following policy based on the increase for the unionized staff. It does not include me. I'm not part of that. That's council's decision. That's how the contract's written. So, I mean, I personally don't think that's certainly something it's again at the discretion of council, but that's why we use. So that's who's included in this. And like I said, this is for 2021. 2020 was missed, right? So.
Yeah, I'm just writing one up right now.
So I think there is just to simply remove council from the increase, right? This-
Yeah.
yeah, mhm. Now, is this something council's looking to be removed from this year? Or is that something, because I mean, is that what you're looking
So
for?
I
this
have
year?
it written for 2021.
Okay,
And then we'll bring it up
Yeah.
for next year, because usually you have to approve the
Right.
increase, correct?
Yep.
Every year? Okay.
Are we able to put a resolution in for like a 10-year freeze?
So I think council just has to remember that there's only 1 year left in our term, right? Just over a year and a half. So then we can go through all this and the next council is just going to revert it. So we can pass this year, and if we want to pass next year, then that's fine as well. And then the new council can.
yeah, I definitely
decide on
wouldn't,
that.
I definitely don't think a 10-year freeze is, but again, it's council's decision. I think the way you do it is a responsible way to handle it, for council. It's always a tough decision because you're voting on giving yourself a raise, and I respect that. It's a tough decision to make, but, yeah, lots of times, what you see, is council coming out and making that decision based on the following council coming in. So you could do it, so you're not giving yourself a raise, somebody else is previous, even if you're back in that council. So you did a 4-year at the start of the term where you said, okay, moving into the next council, we're going to move this 1.5. And then again, you can always put it on the floor to decline it. That's certainly, so we'll, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, can I have a mover and seconder? Be it resolved that to remove members of council on the 1.5% pay increase for the 2021 year.
Well,
So
everybody
I'm
else-
gonna have council approves 1.5% pay increase for all non-union employees retroactive to 2021. And then maybe I'll just add it on to that one instead of writing it. But, okay. Okay. Council approves a 1.5% increase for all non-unionized employees retroactive to January 1st, 2021. But withhold pay increase to members of council for the 21 year. Okay, do you have a mover and seconder? Counselor Tedesco. Counselor Muir. Okay. Moved by Counselor Tedesco, seconded by Counselor Muir. Be it resolved that council approve a 1.5% wage increase for all non-unionized employees retroactive January 1, 2021, but withhold pay increase to members of council for that year. All in favor?
Look, so just to be clear, so we have it for the minutes. Council, that vote went through, and it's still applicable employees, or? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
all but.
Anybody,
members of council.
including anybody here outside of your contract,
Yep.
because I mean, we're not going into rewriting contracts tonight, right?
No.
So it's applicable employees, pull
Right.
council off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, 6.4, is a recommendation. It relates to the termination of the contract between Township of Red Rock and Limestone Partners. Any members of council have questions for administration?
Mark, can you give us a bit of information on what's all happening with limestone and what experiences are things that you've had dealings with them.
Yeah, certainly. So again, the recommendation, and we did have the conversation with Limestone to terminate their contract effective July 31st. My relationship or my dealings with Limestone, from a CAO level, I mean, obviously I'm making a recommendation to terminate that contract. I didn't feel that the value coming out of what they were doing was of any benefit to the Township of Red Rock at this time. I understand why council entered that agreement when they did at the time. There was a lot of different changes happening at that time. Limestone has a bit of a falling out internally in their organization as well. So not all members of Limestone are still part of the group that presented to you. And basically, I guess in a nutshell, I mean, the services that were being rendered and the dollars that the municipality was paying to Limestone, in my opinion, just didn't add up. So we do have a plan moving forward. I mean, we do have our community development officer previous who's working as our contracted community development officer right now as well. We're working together with her. She's off for a bit right now with an illness, but she will be back, and we're going to be working closely with her on a move forward plan that ties a lot of her job duties into one. So it not necessarily won't, do that whole economic development piece, but together as a team, I think we will pull together. So at this point, what we were paying monthly for Limestone, just I didn't feel we were getting that value at the time, and we do have to look at saving money and what we're spending, and that's what kind of I've been tasked or asked to do. And in this case, I mean, it just didn't fit the budget right now that for the municipality.
Any other questions?
So not getting an EDO at this point is, we're not going to be advertising for one. We're going to use that as a cost savings.
Well, I don't
Am I
have
hearing
any.
you?
I don't have any immediate plans of advertising for one at the moment. It is a substantial cost savings. It's not always the best way to look at things, but we do have discussions that we need to have internally that I just haven't been able to have for certain circumstances in the last couple of weeks. But so this is all kind of went down in the last couple of weeks, which has kind of went hand in hand with our community development officer being unable to come in for a few weeks. So I at this point, unless council directs that, I have no immediate plans to put any advertisement out for that position.
If I may, I think we do need to focus on the whole concept of economic development. It's probably kind of got lost a bit because of Limestone. But I think we need to come back and look at it again and probably establish a new direction for you.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's something you can't ignore. I mean, and it's clearly not the intention of what I'm suggesting is ignoring economic development, because I do feel it's obviously a big piece to the community, but this at this time wasn't working. It wasn't the best piece for the township. I don't know if council can even have a better insight as to what was going on or what was doing, but there was not a lot being reported from Limestone, and there was some troubles internally as well. And again, we looked at it from at this point from a cost savings and as well, right? It's we were spending a lot of money in contracted employees.
Mark, I think we had an interim report from Limestone, and it was something that almost a kindergarten person could have put together by just going through Google. I wasn't especially impressed. It was basically drawing up statistical information and really hadn't given much hope. So anyhow, that was my thoughts on Limestone.
So once we hear back from CDO, right, and see what she can bring to the table along with yourself, then we'll move forward on what the plans are for Red Rock with an EDO. I believe that's the best way to go right now. That's the direction.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I mean, that being brought into the umbrella of my position as well as one that I think will benefit the municipality immensely. I mean, the person we do have working in a similar field, tying into the whole community development and overseeing of projects and that kind of thing is very capable, I think, of doing the job.
Okay, could I have a mover and seconder that council approve the termination of contract between the township and Limestone Partners? Councilor McDonald. Councilor Meir. All in favor? Okay, item 6.5. It relates to the termination contract between the Township of Red Rock and Signature Financial Services. Do member of council have questions of administration?
So the word restructuring is being used here. I don't dig this at all. I don't dig this at all. Because restructuring, council hired this based on multiple reports saying, get an accountant, get an accountant, get an accountant. So that's what we did. So that's what we did. So I don't dig this at all.
I can explain that to you. I mean, I think the same report also told you to drastically increase your user fees. And we had that general discussion earlier on lowering user fees. So
This is more than one report though.
I mean,
this is more than one report. This is every year.
I did read the report.
Plus the reports.
So basically, yeah, I mean, it's a similar situation. It's one that I had a few months to assess. I didn't find, again, due to a situation that arose, council had no choice but to bring in somebody to act as the treasurer. It certainly wasn't an ideal situation. It was a contracted treasurer that we struggled with getting to the office. We struggled with reporting. It just wasn't having that person available that you needed there on a basis. I mean, there was things that, I'll be honest, weren't being completed in that role. We did an extensive review of what that role, the job descriptions of that role. And I clearly found that those jobs were being handled mostly internally by staff that has stepped up. For example, we had claims processes on our wastewater facility that were significantly behind. We're talking about big dollars. They weren't done. They should have been done. And happy to report that as of this week, they are done. It just took rolling up your sleeves and doing it. So I read the reports. It does clearly say that the report clearly states that, an accountant or a CA in a municipality is a great thing. Again, if you have that discussion, it's also a tough thing to get. I mean, it's tough. You're in saying that, I have brought in a temporary solution that started Monday. A previous CAO clerk has come in to give us a hand. She's been phenomenal along the way on a temporary position. She's managed to clean up that claims process, work our way through a lot of internal budget issues that I had with where we were with the current treasurer. So I don't disagree, I guess, is per se that of the theory that bringing that position in on contract was a good thing. I've also had two discussions with other accounting firms on a mentoring process, bringing somebody in temporary. So those discussions are being had. This situation just was one that wasn't working out.
So I would like to see us get a meeting scheduled here, sit down and go over this. I don't support this.
Likewise, I don't support it. I would like for us to be able to get something cleared up on it. There's just something stinks here.
Councillor Tedesco and Councillor Mayor, remember, we did discuss this previously at the last meeting. A lot of it was in camera, and there was no discussion like this at that time. So we all knew that this was happening. This is a formality now going through the resolution. So we know we need to improve on that part, right, of administration. So this person, it didn't work out. You know, we had high hopes. Unfortunately, it didn't work for us.
So my memory serves me a little different, but I still don't support this.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. We're going to work with it internally. We brought somebody in on the side right now, or I mean, on, you know, contract, and we'll move forward from there. CAO has already reached out to a couple of firms. More than likely, Red Rock needs a part-time an accountant, and that's what we're going to look at. But right now, it's being managed in the office, but through the CAO, he's going to look into all of that and then report back to us.
So I guess we have to vote on it, and I don't support this. It's a different recollection I have from our conversation.
Well, if you, I mean, I don't, you're, by saying you don't support it, you want the rehire?
I'd like to sit down and have a meeting and discussion. Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, she was
Sit down with both
stretched,
sides and have a conversation and go from there.
she was stretched to the limit in what she was doing. If you look at where we came this week alone, in the claims process alone was to the tune of about $1 million coming back into the community. Just by us taking that position, taking the bull by the horns and getting it done. I mean, again, my job is to run the day-to-day operations of the municipality, and my job is to provide you with the best possible information I can give you. That's what I'm doing in this report.
Yeah, our job though as council is to assure fiscal responsibility, right? So my gut's telling me we need to sit down and do a little further talking. That's what my gut's telling me we need to do. I got to follow my gut on this. I've ignored it in the past. I got to follow it now.
So I guess we'll move this to the next meeting. Because,
Well, I mean, at this point, I mean, she's accepted the termination. I mean, I don't recommend going back to her at this point. I mean, that's I think we have a solution right now that is a temporary solution. And I have a good, solid, permanent solution on two discussions that I have on the go right now that can easily put us into where we need to be. I mean, it's so yeah, I don't
do we want to defer this to the next meeting then?
well, you really can't defer this, because if you look later in the agenda, you have to have there is a bylaw to name an acting treasurer, which under the act you have to do. So it certainly could throw a complete turn at where you want to go. If this is something that council doesn't want to support, then I mean, this again is something that's done.
Well, nothing's ever done. This is business. It's not done.
Well, it is business. It's for sure.
So I've been, like I said, I've been since 2018, been reading these financial reports and everything, and my gut's just, it's not.
It's,
I can't support it as well.
Okay, so I'm going to go through this and again, council, as mayor, I try to, and the CEO tried to advise on proper processes. So just be aware that we could potentially now be in a legal position because of this. So I'm just making it everyone well aware of that. Okay. So I need a mover and seconder to approve, to resolve that council approve the termination of contract between the corporation and Township of Red Rock and Signature Financial Services effective October 4th, 2021.
and again, she has notification that she has been terminated. She's accepted that. I mean, I do see, I wouldn't see her coming back in that position.
I think
mean,
this is improper for you to be interjecting that comment right now.
well, I'm just,
This is a matter before.
Okay, excuse me? Yeah, you just can't cut somebody off, okay? So either put your
Then-
hand up or,
I just am looking for, I don't know where you go after this stage, but then again, that's the will of council, right? So,
okay, seeing that the resolution didn't pass?
was it voted on though?
It was voted if there was,
Okay.
well, there was 1 in favor, 3 against. Okay, 6.6 is information purposes and direction. It relates to an inquiry regarding interest in the purchase of municipal property. A map of the land in question is attached to this report. Do members of council have questions of administration?
Where exactly is this?
So if you look at that piece of property, it's on Old CPR Road. So I believe it's lot, the individual who contacted me owns the small little square on the front piece that ends in 700. So he's looking at purchasing, or he's looking at inquiring if council would have any intention on selling the next 2 pieces, which are municipally owned, which are in the orange. So again, there's no resolution with this. It's simply for direction, if that's where council would like me to go and continue the discussions.
Councilor
Yeah.
Tedesco.
I think we should sell if it's not doing anything and it can bring in a few tax dollars for us. God bless them.
And again, I'm not sure how that's what I'm looking for, is to go back to him. So I will, right? I think each property, if you go by MPAC values, those properties would have about, by MPAC, about a $15,000 value between the 2 of them. Again, we could put whatever price we thought onto that, but okay, we'll
Start on the negotiations, see what happens. More stuff built, the better.
yep. It's an easy one.
Sorry. A new grievance for operations of the bowling alley and recreation center restaurant. Do members of council have questions of administration?
Do we have anybody that's showing interest with the bowling alley?
At this point, no, we're just looking for your direction to see if that's exactly where we want to go out with that. So at this point, I haven't had any interest or spoken to anyone about that at this point. So, but what we are looking for is the direction to go into to put it out there, get into the contracts that way. So
So we would like to advertise for a bowling alley
Yeah.
proprietor and all of that. So that's just the direction that,
Yeah.
And I actually have copies of them here, so yeah, I have been kind of reviewing them and going over them for sure.
This might also be a good time to mention that Lucy has provided a fantastic service for us. I assume she would be interested in continuing. She's been the focal point of our community for many people. She's a good, provides a good meal.
Well, no, I'm certainly not saying we're looking to go out and we're looking to renew that contract. I'm just looking
Yep.
for direction to renew that. That's all.
Answer is yes.
okay, item 6.8 is information purposes. It relates to moving of the closed session portion of the, to the beginning of the meeting. Do members of council have questions of administration?
Yeah, just so if we start an in-camera session at 6:30, the regular meeting of council could not start till a couple hours later, eh? What if we started council? Well, there was a reason though, at one time why council meetings are at 7. Was it not scheduling? Weren't they at 6 years and years ago?
So I believe, because really most municipalities try not to go in camera.
Yeah.
So when you do, it's for, there's only specific reasons and you try to go through it, as, not as quickly as possible, but as, fresh, it's fresh in, council's on their agenda, but to move it, to move through that process in a timely fashion, because as you know, at the end of meetings, sometimes you could be there for 2-3 hours and
Yeah.
you just end up kind of going off track. So that's the reason most municipalities actually do start at 6:30, do their closed session before. So Mr. Bigliamini, with his background, suggested it, and that's why he's bringing it forward.
Would there be like a time limit on that? then?
Well, you do have to come, if you do extend past 7, you do have to have a resolution to go back in, right? But and sometimes it will happen, but lots of times it won't. So you're done your closed session at 6:50, say, and then you've got 10 minutes to go into your open session. It keeps those decisions that you make in closed fresh. And it doesn't put you into closed after a long meeting. Like you said, it may put you back into closed occasionally, but
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
it is the practice most times that you will get that closed session done, but it's again, the decision of council. It's just a structure process with the meeting structure.
Maybe we could try it on a trial basis, just to
Yeah.
see how
Maybe.
well it goes.
Or maybe we could defer it and revisit it in, say, a few months or something of that sort.
Again, there's no resolution to it. It's just for discussion and direction. If that's something council wanted us to do or wanted us to wait, or that's certainly not a problem.
And maybe even like in September when we start doing them every 2 weeks, whereas
Yeah.
in the summertime when it's once a month, we have a little more stuff maybe to discuss. So maybe we could put that on September's or
So kind of try it as we start in September if we want
I guess
to.
that's next. Coming up
Soon,
next
yeah.
anyway, so I don't, what do you guys think?
Try the month of September. See
Can
how
I
it
try
works.
September? Doing that?
Yeah, I'd be up for that.
I'm in favor of that.
Does everybody can make it for work and stuff?
I believe I'm the only one affected, so, and
Then we can hold off. Yeah, because that won't work then.
no, I schedule my days off. I
Oh, okay.
take time off to make sure I can attend
Okay.
meetings, so.
It'll work for you?
Okay, we can do a trial kind of in the month of September and see.
Turkey's any idea how Sarah would be on that?
I believe she'd do fine with that.
Kind of forget.
Okay, moving on, 6.9, information purposes. It relates to changing of current billing structure from monthly to quarterly billing. Do members of council have questions of administration? So we all know our water sewer is monthly, right? So some people don't know that somebody has to go around and, do the meter readings. It takes a day and a half of one person in administration to do all the billing, which is also um, mailing them out, but also the day's work. So it's cost effective to approximately maybe $600 a month. So our only concern, Mr. Figlamini can explain, is probably dealing with seniors, right? If you're thinking, oh, I might not be able to afford it, people can still come in and pay your bill every month if you want. The administration could average your bill out, you know, if it's $40, $50 or whatever, and you can still go in and pay your bill, but they're only going to issue the bill quarterly. Right? So I mean,
So at the end
cost
of
saving
each
of
month-
1,000 to 1,200, you know, every.
Yeah, they could either have surplus or.
Right, yeah. So
I'd be in
Mark, if
favor
you
of
want to
it, As
explain.
long as it doesn't sort of negatively impact on somebody else. Like, can you think of anybody that might get negatively impact?
No, I mean, I don't as per se. I know change sometimes is hard. That's, you know, and it may affect, like you said, I mean, it may affect a senior who doesn't, you know, and wants to make that monthly payment, but we've committed that if we do make this change, that, you know, we'll take that average for them and we'll figure that out, and, you know, they can continue to make that payment. What it does do is saves us a lot of time internally in the office, as well as reading the meters. It gives us, and we mail out about 400 bills in that case per month. So at $1 or so a stamp, right? And then you're printing and so when you don't even factor in the staff time, which I mean goes into that, you're probably looking at a $500 to $600 a month saving. So you do that every 3 months as opposed to every month. The only thing that you could run into that we have discussed is if somebody had, say, a leaking toilet or something in that time frame, you wouldn't catch it, say, as per se in the 30-day period. It would take the 90-day period. But again, council can make those decisions if you saw that on a situation where, you know, somebody was getting a bill that was crazy and you knew there was something up there, then you could certainly look at that on a one-off situation. That'd be about the only thing I could see as a downfall to that, is you might not catch something like that as quick, but it doesn't happen often apparently either, right? So I don't know.
Actually, Mark, it did happen once, and I think the town adjusted that. And
For sure.
it was a senior person that couldn't deal with it. But anyhow, but
It's a cost saving measure. It's time saving and a cost saving, and it's pretty well the standard in, I think, any other municipality that I've talked to. It's pretty well the standard.
I did reach out to 4 other communities, people that lived in their communities, and they all do get quarterly billing. So.
Yeah, it's a cost-effective saving, which is good, and you know, can help people out, go from there.
Okay, next item to report 6.10 is information purposes. It relates to a request made by Environmental Committee for this meeting. Members of council have questions of administration. Am I on the right one?
So we're just looking again back at the couple of questions brought up at the last meeting too. So the wrapping of the trees, we're looking at having that done sooner than later. Is there a timeline for that? So we're hoping it could be completed. Well, we still have the summer students here. We provided the costing.
So as administration, we recommend, certainly if we see that issue arise again, then we do recommend you know, listening and going with the solution of wrapping the trees. But at this point, we haven't historically from the research I've done, we didn't have a beaver issue at the marina in the past, ever to speak of, until recently. One way or the other, I mean, long before my time, that issue was taken care of. We haven't seen any evidence of beavers since. At this point, we don't recommend doing that at this point. But again, we are monitoring it, and certainly if it's something that does arise again, we'll have everything ready to go. So we're not recommending that procedure at this exact time, but again, we're definitely not against the solution that's been provided or that we've looked at. That's not the issue.
So historically, I guess, was the term used when the trapping came up. So how often does the trapper go down? How many years ago was that? Or is it every year?
That this was the first time that.
This was the first time since,
Down at.
Is
down
the
at
information
marina-
I can
Down
gather,
at the
yeah.
marina.
At the
Yes.
marina.
okay. And when was the last time the trapper was down there? How
Just-
long, how year wise, how many years ago? We've never had a trapper down at the waterfront. This was the first year ever. And where does the trapper usually go? Like, where do we set up traps? Downstream? This is the first time the township's ever had,
No,
what's their timeline?
what's our time?
Yeah, because what
They've been
I,
brought in for different situations, as well as the mill, between the mill property and our property. Down at other, I believe, certain bridges, culverts
okay,
that has been used. We're not, administration is not saying that we're not going to follow the environmental committee's plan. What he said is they're going to follow the plan. They just don't feel that to do it right now. So if it means, if there's activity September, October, then that's when they'll get done. That's all.
they'll wrap the
That's what
trees at
they're
that
saying.
time.
That's what he's, yeah.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, we don't see evidence that there's beavers back at the marina. If you have evidence that's otherwise, then we don't see that right now. So,
I just want to state, it's not that it's not going to get done, it's just not going to get, they're recommending it not being done right now. If there's any other questions or comments?
I wonder, because the cost isn't that much, right? It's $813. What if we had volunteers that could do this?
well, you do get into collective bargaining agreements. There's certainly a lot of other issues around that. Again, it's a committee of council that makes recommendations to council, and that's something that we see, and we're fully committed to the fact that if we monitor that and there's beavers, chewing on trees down at the marina, again, we will do everything that we can, but at this point, there's not, so.
Mary, we have a follow-up meeting tomorrow with the environmental committee. Is there any way we could have either yourself or Blair attend that meeting?
To discuss.
Just to go over the beavers and the findings. I think it would be pretty beneficial to have someone there. Just to hear the perspective of the environmental committee, because the reports that we've got kind of state there could be an urgency, and the cycle of the beaver is going to cycle back. And I think the fear is that if it's not done, then all of a sudden the trapper is going to come back in, which we don't want to see. We don't want to see any trees get cut down either. I think there's an urgency there. So would there be a chance if we could have Ian as a
Yeah,
guest
well,
tomorrow? Or?
I'm in the emo conference all day tomorrow. I'm not, at this point, yeah, I mean, we could probably make something happen around that.
So we'll be at the Golden Center at 7:30.
And again, like I said, we're definitely not saying that we're not going to do it, and we're definitely not saying that we're going to put traps down at there again. I mean, this would be something that if they return, then we will handle it similar to a situation like this. I mean, in saying that, I mean, even it again would be a job that Blair would manage through.
Yeah. So that'd be good if Blair, if you could join us at the meeting even tomorrow, we can come up with a nice amicable solution and go from there. That would be.
So again, I just want to state that administration is not denying the environmental committee's request or their recommendation. It will be done if there is evidence of recurring situation at the marina. It's just as of doing it right now, like tomorrow or next Monday, they don't see the value in that when it's,
Yeah.
September, October, that's all that we're just administration's trying to state.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
understood. Yeah,
so-
and we see there's two different
That-
sides. So we'll- if we can sit down and have that conversation with Public Works, and then some of our people on the committee that put a lot of time, a lot of study, and then maybe we can, find a solution that works for everybody.
Okay, thanks. Okay, next report 6.11 is information purposes. It relates to requests made by Councilor Mir and Councilor Tedesco for the meeting. Members of council have any questions of administration?
Well, was there more on just that we dismissed, was there more still wanting to discuss on the environmental committee, or were we good with that then? Were we gonna tie all? Is you had
Well, some of your questions were already
okay,
answered.
we're good then.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
yeah.
I can take back tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so discussion topics were employee training, so please be mindful, depending on what your comments are, it might have to be moved into closed session.
Yeah, that me adding that was for closed session. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can, and we do have it listed in closed too. So if that's the case, then if it's more than an employee training discussion and we're focused on, then we'll move that into closed then.
Yes, that was.
Yeah.
Okay, property standards.
Yeah. So again, the property standards process was brought up to our attention at the environmental committee meeting. There was a few inquiries about why we don't actually drive and have like a set of standards versus having to write letters. I think there's a lot of people in town that are really uncomfortable writing a letter on their neighbor. And that seems to be a consensus amongst a lot of people. To me, I understand, it's a difficult thing to do, but if we do have property standards, there should be, a list of standards. And then if we drive through said neighborhoods and that's when you would get the letter from the person on administration, a picture attached to it with the warning, I would think would be the way to go with that versus I just think the level of comfort from the citizens, many citizens are not comfortable with this reporting, having them do that aspect. I know we went through this a year and a half ago, and I just think it's coming back full turn again. Where I don't know how well it's working, this process.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't speak to the process a year and a half ago, but I can speak to the process now. And I mean, we do have property standards handled internally in the office on a complaint basis. That is how we handle it now. That is how I came in handling that situation. That's kind of what the situation was. I mean, if council was looking at a different structure, I assume that would mean another body. At this point now, we have that handled internally by one employee that's also handling many other duties. So.
Well, I do think because I believe it was merged with animal control at one point in time. At one point it was, which I believe the process isn't a very effective process that the citizens are they're not too comfortable, and it's hard to endorse something that people aren't comfortable with. So could we look at doing something?
Like look at another body in that position? Is that what you're?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I see the process itself. If you're a drive around town, up the road, it could be done possibly, it could be done at any time. It could be done by multiple people as well too. If we do have a list of standards, I know we're talking about certain things, but say I've got.
Well, it is built into a job description within the union. So,
Okay. So,
so it's not just as easy as that, but certainly if we can look at, I mean, again, we can look at
yeah, I think we should
We'll
maybe.
look at the procedure.
Yeah,
and
looking
then
at
if it
the
needs to be,
procedure.
revised or updated and maybe a different, different route to take. And that's what we'll have to work on.
Yeah, is that something maybe we could look at?
But
bring
I
it
mean,
to-
people can't just, you can't just drive around town and go on people's property. We all know that, right?
No, you can't. And people won't. I mean, obviously, we still might get it. We can leave that complaint process open, but in the meantime, for me to write a letter about the neighbors behind me, you know, it can't happen. You know,
Okay, next one is corporate reports, action plans.
yeah. So back to the corporate reports and action plans. It ties in with the asset management. I think I'd really like to see council sit down with management and go through these reports, the SAGE report specifically, get an action plan with timelines in place. Go through it, pick out what we need to do, what we need to meet. That report was completed, and I think it was kind of shelved after a few things, but it had a lot of information in it. But I mean, the reality is there is cost savings in there.
So maybe we can plan in the fall to have a education session
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
go through this.
Yeah.
So that could be planned.
and you know what? I'd hate to skip you back to number 5, but you know what? If we could look at having a town hall and getting input, so we can add that to this action plan. Because there's things out there that you know, there's other perspectives that we need to include in an action plan.
So in regards to town meetings, which I'm in favor for, but you know that they're quite structured.
100%.
You can
yeah.
only discuss whatever's, you know,
Yeah.
the topic is. It's not a free for all because.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been getting concerns brought to me as well, but there's a welling of within the community of people that want to say things. So I think the town hall meeting is pretty important.
Okay, council meetings, summer months.
Yes, that's, I was hoping, you know, we can put in a resolution for next summer to follow suit with the regular. These breaks between council meetings, I understand, but I don't, there seems to be a lot of things left open that we need attention. And I don't quite like the break. You know, to my opinion is if you want to break from politics, then you just don't do the politics. Don't be a counselor. To me, this is a 4-year term, full 4 years, right? So I was hoping we could kind of look at adding those meetings back and just go through. And I understand that, yeah, we can call a meeting anytime, but again, there is that level
So-
of having a meeting. Now that we're in person, it makes a lot of sense to them.
Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
The reason why, and I've discussed this with other municipalities. So for one thing, there's cost savings. So now you've asked for, you know, for Blair to go to your meeting tomorrow night. So
Mhm.
that's more time off for him. So meetings tonight. Right, so we have a couple of employees here, so they get time off or overtime pay. And also government's not in session in the summer months. So it's a downtime for everybody. So it's usually administration catches up in, you know, in the process and everything. I think right now it's because we've had some transition in the office and stuff is why a few things may be backed up, but usually historically summer meetings are 20 minutes, 30 minutes long because there's not much going on.
Yeah, I just.
That is the
yeah.
reason. And as summer's over now, like next summer, it's our last term as council, right? So I mean, we can make that resolution and then the next council is just going to change it. As you know, but again, all municipalities, I believe only Terrace Bay is the only one that runs a meeting, 2 meetings a month, but one is canceled this month because of AMO, which always gets canceled because it's always in August.
I don't think
So-
it's that much to expect of people to come on a regular basis. Summer, fall, winter, spring.
I'm just giving you the information, the facts, okay? That's of all other municipalities. That's really their reason. We have, you know, staff that takes summer vacation, right? So you might not get all the reports then. Right? Because they could be on holidays, so. Then you're having a meeting without reports that's all, just providing you the information, and that's the reason why Most municipalities in July and August only have one meeting.
I think we can look at it obviously next year too, right? We can leave that as I mean, it's not going to happen again this year, right? We're back into regular, but that is kind of the general assumption as to why, right? It's, you have a lot of holidays in the office in the summer. It's a little bit of work to get the meetings together when you're short staffed. Traditionally, the AMO conference is in August, which puts a little bit more strain on there. And I mean, a lot of times it's again, whatever council wants. It's generally, it's like the mayor said, I mean, on a reach out to pretty well every other community around, it's kind of the structure they take. But again, it's whatever is the individual preference of council.
Yeah, it's a feeling of disconnect when we wait this long. And I mean, even when we had our meetings online, it's a feeling of disconnect from everybody. Processes. It's, to me, I like myself, I think routine's good. And that's how I am. That's just what my thought was.
I just want to say, like, yeah, decisions can't be made until the next meeting, which is 4 weeks away, right? So sometimes it takes forever just to have some. That's just one other.
So we'll make a note to in June of next year to bring that to you as a council, and we can make that decision then, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Okay, subdivision.
Do we have an update on the subdivision?
Yes, I do. Actually, I've had meetings with Bruno's Silvio 2 or 3 times this week. So I'm just going to find the right documentation here. So basically what's going on here with the overall project is phase. So the surveying is done. The surveying is complete. And what came out of the survey is basically incorrect data that doesn't represent the scope of the plan that was put forward. So in a nutshell, the project as presented in a perfect world today cannot be designed. So in saying that, not all the property tied into the plan and the proposed sale belong to the township. So structurally right now, what Bruno's needs is a direction from council to see where we want to go into this project. And I do have some notes. I want to go to them because I want to make sure that it is clear to council where this whole process has to go. So in saying that, there it is. Bruno's they're looking for direction from council, and they're willing to keep going with some scope change to the plan. But realistically, the project that was in front of council cannot be constructed. So on a nutshell, what you do have is an elevation level between the two areas that you want to build. Their initial plan was to scrape basically 4 meters of fill from one section to fill the other, under the assumption and in the plan that was property that was owned by the municipality. It's not. So one of, I guess, 2 things has to or will happen. Bruno's is willing to work with council, more than willing to acquire that land if need be. But they need direction from council to keep going in this process. So in saying that, the only part of the process that's done now is the survey. They haven't moved even into a phase 1 environmental test on the property because it doesn't fit the scope of what they have. So, in saying that, the municipality of Red Rock is also needing, I mean, without a solid number to commit to a lift station for that property, which would probably be in the range of $1 million. So there's been no plan to fund that I can find to date. So it's not a stop in the project by any means, but it's a slowdown. They need more direction. They need to see where we want to go. If they can't acquire that property, they want to, maybe change a scope of what they can do. In saying that, Bruno's is a land developer. So they develop the land. From what I see, they are, then obviously, people would need to buy that developed land and invest in it with a home. So again, I guess what I'm looking for is just a general direction from council to see where we want to continue to go in dealing this. The scope of the project, as I said, right now, without acquiring some other property is one that they just won't be able to build.
Can we ask them to come in and actually do a presentation or something for us? Because really,
Yes,
I really don't know what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I did ask
I
them.
hear they want more land to, move some soil and the scope is changing. Can they actually present us with what
Yeah,
they're trying
and
to change?
I mean, he's more than willing to come and do
Yeah.
that. It's all open session. Obviously, this kind of transpired in the last few days. I spoke to him just before coming tonight. So it's a general update. It's not really like I said, it's nothing that shuts the project down. It could significantly change the scope of the project. I guess what I'm saying is if they don't acquire that land, they cannot build the design project that they have. They could possibly build something smaller, something else, but they can't build that. But certainly I've requested to them and they would be more than willing to come and speak to council. It's been a bit of a disconnect there, but that's kind of where this project's landed at this point. So again, they give me 3 options today, right? They want direction from council as to, trying to acquire more land from them, if we're still interested in the project, if you want to abandon the project. I mean, they're all about working together with the people of Red Rock. They're still committed to the project. It's going to take a bit more time if that's where we want to go with that. So,
Yeah, meeting sounds much needed with some options and some layouts of what they're looking at, and they like the land that I'm not even sure which piece of land.
it's actually a land. It's a right-of-way land. That's the best way it was explained to me is, I mean, the road access, the road allowance that was factored into it is basically on what would be a CN right-of-way. So a bit of, I mean, I don't want to say it was, I mean, the detail that was presented and the detail that came out of the surveying process are totally different in that perspective. So I don't have enough history, or I can't find even enough history on back into the project as to why this happened, but that's where we found ourselves now. So again, best way to put it is it's still a project that's viable. They are committed to, even if it's a matter of them getting the land, that they're committed to working on that, but they want to know where the township wants to go with this project, right? In saying that, again, I mean, the township probably is you know, in my best estimate opinion, would still need to invest $1 million into this this project. Without, at this point, and nothing that I can find is any real commitment from anyone that's looking to purchase that land, or any individual at this point that says, hey, I'm buying a piece of property. So I don't know, maybe there is that out there. I can't find it.
I believe the previous CAO had said that there was, this lift station would be 100% funded. That is what I was told.
I would probably, I mean, without doing any research, I would probably disagree with that. I would highly doubt that you'd have a 100% funded project, but maybe. Whether he's got some kind of documentation showing that, I can't locate it. I don't see any applications to that.
So
And I can't guarantee you that you would get the funding for that. I can guarantee that we would apply. We would certainly apply, but I can't guarantee you that that would happen. I can't guarantee that it won't either, but.
So I think moving forward on the subdivision would be having Bruno's do presentation.
Yep.
And then also clearing up the survey and the lands and all of that, and have that
I think that's.
brought back.
So Mark, when you get a copy of, I'm going to assume that they're going to send you a new copy of the revised subdivision. Can you do an approximate estimate on what kind of tax revenue we'd be looking at?
Well, I won't probably get a copy of a revised subdivision, because at this point, they don't really have a scope of plan with the land that they own, that they can build with now. They also have access issues to accessing that land because of the size of the land. So I guess, yeah, if we wanted to say, hey, yeah, we're interested in this scope with what we own, yeah, we could probably get some kind of a drawing. But again, and just learned a little bit of this recently with the accessible land that they have to them right now, they would also have some serious concerns about an access road into that piece. So.
Okay, well, yeah, that's one of those things, right? The plan that we saw originally had, estimates of the amount of people, et cetera, lift station needed. But then, I mean, if they come back, you build 2 bungalows, it's going to cost the town $1 million for 2 bungalows. I don't even think it'd be worth it for them.
But second of all, they're not building the houses. They're not a builder. They're a land developer. So they're not building any of these.
I believe they were going to put up a model home.
They do not build, Bruno's Contracting does not build homes. They develop land. And builders will build homes. So there's nothing in that plan that.
So we'll wait for Bruno's to come back to council, and we'll get a better understanding, because there's lots of misinformation.
Unless I'm wrong there,
Okay.
but that's the way I saw it. I'll double check on that, but I'm pretty sure that's.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Okay,
Yeah, that sounds good.
next item is lake trout restocking.
We have some members of the audience that are rock fishing meeting. And this has been on the radar for some time for sorry about that. For the stocking of the Nipigon Bay with lake trout. 30 years ago, lake trout fishing was superb. Everybody talked highly of the fish that were available. It was great for families. It was great for the tourist outfitters. It was just great. Brought in a lot of tourist type people. We've had with Marcel and with Monte Kerr, we were able to meet and had a conversation with the Deputy Minister of Policy for the MNR in Toronto, and there's been a bit of a delay there. So we're going to ask Monty and Marcel to perhaps come back and provide a bit of a presentation to the municipality at the next council meeting and request at that time that we get a letter of support from the municipality to the Ministry of Natural Resources to find out why their slow behavior towards what the provincial designation for this area. This area here is all going to be four-season tourist stuff, and that by not putting the fish in and doing that sort of thing, it flies in the face of that direction, let's put it that way, that the Ontario government has for this area. Industry is not going to be really big on the future screen by the looks of things, but definitely tourism is. So we need to get behind the Red Rock Fish and Game Club. And there's also a partnership with some other organizations such as the Red Rock Indian Band, Flying Post Band, and a few other municipalities that are supporting this. So if we could put that on for next month, if these people could provide us with deputation, then we can
So-
provide the. Are we going to go to anything wrong?
Unfortunately, no, sorry. So you would just have to send a request to the CAO and then you would be able to make a deputation. You would have to send a request to the CAO to make a deputation. So unfortunately, the floor is not open unless you're pre-scheduled. Okay, so unfortunately, Councillor Tedesco wasn't able to provide you with that information, but next time it would, that's the proper process on how to follow. So
I was aware
it's
of
great.
that.
Obviously, we're more than happy to support that request, I'm sure. Are there any questions to Councillor Tedesco?
Are you wanting a letter of support written tonight, or did you want the presentation first? Okay,
So we can get you on the next agenda as a deputation. That's not a problem. Just come and see me and we'll add you on there as a deputation for the September. I believe it's going to be September 7th because of the holiday will be a day later, right? Because, but yeah, we can get you on there.
Okay, moving on. Bylaws. Item 7.1, the deeming bylaw for lots 22 to 24, Plan M183. This is a bylaw to deem certain lots in subdivision Plan M183 not to be lots on a registered plan of subdivision for the purpose of subsection 50.3 of the Planning Act. So this was brought to last council meeting. I didn't have my notes with me, unfortunately, sorry, so I couldn't provide you with more information, but this is a property on the Red Rock Road that has two lots. If you recall what Miss Evans had presented to us, what a deeming bylaw, when you have two or three lots. Somebody owns two or three lots side by side and say one house is built close to the property line. Right, if they decide to sell that property, it wouldn't meet code, right? So now what this homeowner is doing is combining the two lots to make one lot. It would be the one that we talked about earlier that is building the garage on the Red Rock Road that had the house fire. Okay, so that's two lots in one, but the residential lot is close to the one property line, so it's just a formality, but this is the process that. Okay, so again, my apologies for not providing that last week, but. So I need a mover and a seconder for a motion to approve the bylaw. Councillor Tedesco. Councillor Muir. Okay, all in favor? All hands. Okay, 7.2. The budget bylaw, this is amended bylaw to bylaw 2021-1237, where there was an error on a tax rate. changing the operation budget amount. Is there a mover and seconder for a motion to approve this bylaw?
It was just done in error on the, and then this is the correct amount that should be there?
Yeah, so that the error was made and then caught when we were dealing with Opta to put the final numbers together. So we corrected it. It was corrected and reflected on the tax bills that go out, but we do have to change it. We do have to update it by bylaw because it does change. You see the two bylaws. It changes that rate. There's two rates actually. It changes the rate for I think it was vacant commercial and there was a second note on the railway rate as well that were caught that were entered incorrectly at the time of the budget process. So this is just a cleanup. But it then changes your actual number on your budget number, right, as well. So it's a cleanup, an error that was entered at the time.
It doesn't affect our personal taxes? Like it does not affect our tax rate for residential? As you said, it was rail and
Vacant commercial.
yeah, vacant.
But it
commercial.
does affect your overall operating number,
Right.
right? So and you see those numbers. So and again, it was caught prior to the bills going out. So the bills do reflect that number. It's just a cleanup of the process now.
These weren't on the last, or the numbers were different? Sorry.
On the last
Oh, yeah, when we got the-
budget?
Yeah, no, like these numbers weren't on. We had to add this to the budget.
No, they were actually entered incorrectly here in this year's budget. right?
Okay, so they're different numbers, but they were.
They were always there, like
Yeah,
previous years,
I
you
got
mean?
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I got what you're saying now.
Yeah, so, like I said, when you go to pass these through, I believe it's Opta, they verify those numbers. They were transferred incorrectly, and it's, like I said, it's a cleanup process that we need to make everything clean from a bylaw perspective.
Okay, do I have a mover and seconder? Counselor Muir?
Yeah.
Counselor McDonald? All in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Okay, 7.3, the tax rate bylaw. This is an amended bylaw to bylaw 2021-1241, where there was an error in one of the tax rates. Is there a mover and seconder for motion to approve the bylaw? Okay, Counselor today.
CPR pays tax on property and education tax. CNR doesn't pay any. They do have a building on the CN right of way. Wouldn't we be getting some tax from them?
We very well might be. It wasn't an error, so I have to double check those. I don't have that exact number or that exact detail, but if we are, this is only reflecting the error. So if you look at it, the error was changed from 1.125.43 to 106.13. So again, it was a number incorrectly transferred into our initial budget when it was passed by council. So these numbers reflect the change with the correct numbers and just have to be passed again by council.
Okay, but I noticed though that CN 0 acres but they do have, who owns the rail bed? Doesn't CN own the rail bed?
I'm kind of lost as to where like, I don't know where you're going.
So we're just talking about this one section, not about all of the.
Mhm.
So if you have questions to follow up, you can
Well, I
discuss
see,
that with Mark.
I see where you are. You're here, right? But yeah. I'd have to check on that. I don't have that answer for you. By what I'm reading, though, it would be 0 acres of CN land at $0. So I'd definitely have to check on that.
Is there a mover and seconder to pass the bylaw? Councillor Muir? Councillor Tedesco? All in favor? So 7.4, we're going to defer.
Well, I think we still have to vote on it and act on it,
Okay.
even if it is just something that's only because we are acting that way now since August 4th. So
Okay.
I mean, it's something that should still be voted on. Ideally, because we are in the situation we are in, and by law and by the act, we do have to have somebody in that position. So I mean, what I would recommend is, and it is acting. What I would recommend is voting on it and having that go, because I mean, whether that's acting for a day, acting for a week, or acting for a longer period of time, it can always be repealed. So the municipality does need to have a treasurer under the Municipal Act.
Okay.
So you would be the acting treasurer, tax collector in the meantime.
Correct,
We
yes.
fill that position,
Correct.
or
Correct.
however we go about it.
Yeah, and like I said, that could be, it might be a day, it might be a week, it might be a month, you know, it could be longer, but at least it's an acting role that ideally can be repealed at any time when you hire somebody else. But again,
But it is a requirement.
it is a requirement under the act, yes.
7.4, the acting treasurer tax collector bylaw, as the contract has been terminated, therefore an acting treasurer must be appointed. Is there a mover and seconder for a motion to approve this bylaw, which is to appoint Mark Bigwini as acting treasurer and tax collector? Councillor McDonald. Seconded.
So we'll get a timeline then to have a meeting set up next week if we,
Yeah, and as we get into these discussions, sure, we continue to have them. That's not a problem, but yeah, we can commit to that.
so we'll have a meeting though set up for sure. Like if we vote on this for temporary, we will have a meeting.
Well, you want that meeting with the
Financial, yeah.
previous,
Yeah. set up.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So this would be voted based upon us council believing that meeting's been set up. So we're covered under the act, but a meeting is being set up.
Yeah, we do have to be covered under the act at this point. I mean, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Meeting
there a
was set up
seconder?
with the former treasurer.
Councillor Muir. All in favor? Motion is carried. New business, there is no new business. There is no unfinished business. Next on the agenda is closed session portion of the meeting. May I have a mover and seconder to go into closed session under the authorities as printed in the agenda? Councillor Tedesco, Councillor McDonald. That we go in closed session at 9:04. I need a mover and seconder. Yep. Okay, all in favor? Okay, motion's carried. We'll go in camera. Okay, the minutes of the closed session portion of the minutes of the meeting on July 19th, items 10.2 were approved together with open session minutes of items 3.2. Okay, confirming bylaw. The next item on is the bylaw to confirm proceedings of council. Do members of council have questions of administration? Seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder for a motion to pass the bylaw, which is to give council administration directions on what we did this evening? Councillor Muir and Councillor McDonald. Okay, with time being 10:02, there's no further business to attend to. As chair, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. And glad to see some faces.